Hello, hello. Hey everyone, thank you for joining us for this panel. I think it's going to be very exciting to discuss about all of the marketing opportunities in the Web3 environment. We'll do short introductions and then we'll jump in. My name is Barry. I work for MarketAcross for the past 5 years. And yeah, go ahead.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you. My name is Nikita Sachdev. I'm from Houston, Texas, but currently living in Dubai. I'm the CEO and founder of LunaPR and Luna Media Corporation. We're a PR and marketing agency headquartered out of Dubai with offices in Miami, Singapore, and opening up London soon. We also are a media company, so we've acquired the franchise for Cointelegraph Middle East, produced show on CNBC Arabia, which I was hosting, and have a small foundation where we educate girls in India.
Thanks for having me here. My name is Jacek Studziński. I'm born and raised in Poland, and I worked as Chief Communications Officer at Adshares. Adshares is a complex project because it's a multi-layer solution for digital advertising, from the blockchain created by the company to ad servers that enable advertisers to reach Web3 audiences. So it's a pretty complex thing to explain, but I'm excited to be here with you all.
Hey everyone, my name is Martyna Borys-Liszka. I am PR director at Serotonin and head of PR for Warsaw. I've been in PR for the past 6 years, in Web3 specifically for the past 2 years. And I work with different brands. Some of the clients are here at the event. Hello. In helping them tell their stories. So I look after PR, but Serotonin is a Web3 product studio and a marketing agency.
Hi guys, thanks for having me. I'm Filip, CEO of Cookie3 and co-founder, by the way. I'm also from here, happy to be here today with you all. In Cookie3, we are like building a behavioral analytics company, providing attribution insights for both Web3 and Web2 companies by bridging the gap between socials, in-platform, and on-chain data of the users.
Okay, cool. So we met everyone. Thank you for that. So to kick it off, I think we should dive a little bit into what's the role of marketing in the Web3 environment. I mean, what are the main reasons for blockchain projects to be hiring a PR agency in the first place? Why there is a need for marketing in this environment in general?
Okay, cool. So I'll kick it off, I guess. So I believe PR and marketing is so important for any company and brand in the space because overall, I mean, I don't need to tell you guys, it helps build credibility, helps build awareness, exposure, but in particular in the Web3 space, I think it's more important than ever because the technology is still so foreign to a lot of people. There's still a very small population that actually understands what Web3 is. And in order for us as a whole, no matter what company you're running in the Web3 space, we all want the same goal, mass adoption. That's going to bring success to the industry. And in order to bring mass adoption, you need to implement PR and marketing tactics.
Fair enough.
Couldn't agree more. As a strategic planner working in creative departments for 20 odd years, I think when you look at the adoption curve generally, globally, PR is absolutely essential in building legitimacy of projects. Especially in years where there are so many scams, rug pulls, and the wider population has many reservations, fears, FUD, towards the industry as such. And in my view, it's PR that creates the most credibility and trust for builders, because we don't have yet consumer-facing brands. It is not an industry that's consumer-facing and scaling globally. We are still, like somebody said, in the basement of the general industry. So getting whitelisted, legitimized, trusted is the key thing that we can achieve thanks to efforts like PR and marketing.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things Amanda Cassatt, my boss, CEO and co-founder of Serotonin, used to say, so I'm going to steal this because I really like that anecdote. She says that marketing is there is like an anecdote that you can say there is a muscle and a bone, and the product is the bone. And it can be a very healthy bone and a strong bone, but you won't get far if there isn't a muscle that's carrying it and letting it move. So the marketing is that muscle, right, that will help a brand move forward, but without the bone, so without the strong foundation, it would be very fluffy. So that's how I tend to think about marketing, and working with a specialist in marketing or PR. You essentially getting help in getting to build that muscle around your bone, around your product, and flexing it and exercising it. So there is something to protect that bone, and you use this to grow your brand. And I think that's how you should think about it. One cannot exist without another.
Oh yeah, couldn't agree more. And also I know this anecdote from Amanda. The thing is about like PR and like building the whole like marketing strategy. I'd say that right now in bear market specifically, it is all about like building credibility that Jacek also mentioned, and the awareness about like the project you are building, and also like differentiating the target customers you are like, or prosumers, contributors you are targeting. So either they are like users, builders, or investors. You have to like differ all those like groups from each other to also target and like tailor and adjust those communications to those groups, and also like maybe talking about more detailed specific things is to also come up with some KPIs and goals that you need to like measure to actually check if the PR or marketing activities you are conducting are actually successful or not. But probably we'll dig into it later on.
Okay, cool. So next question is, a lot has been discussed about Web3. Now Web3 is kind of a buzzword, right? Everyone wants to be integrated into Web3. It's kind of like AI, right? You hear AI, everyone is AI driven now. So what is the real, I mean, we know there was a lot of differences in the market when projects moved from Web2 to Web3. But in terms of marketing, what is the real difference between Web2 marketing to Web3 marketing? If there are any reasons at all, if there are any differences.
I think there's quite a vast difference, actually. So in the Web2 space, you have your traditional PR and marketing activities will also be applicable to the Web3 space, except your goal and target audience is slightly different. The Web3 is very focused, Web3 market is very focused on community. Especially if you look at cryptocurrencies, the metaverse, NFTs, AI, whatever is being integrated within the Web3 umbrella is very focused on communities. And I think that's where the strategies kind of shift for us. For example, and not to mention they've shifted over time. So the Web3 space is always evolving. So the strategies that were working 3 years ago are not working today. So in 2017, when I started LunaPR, we were very focused on forums such as Bitcoin Talk, Reddit, 4chan. These were very popular. Today, they don't really work for us, but community is still important. The platforms that work today for us are Telegram and Discord, if it's an NFT project, for example. So that's one of the key differentiators. I don't think these platforms would be as important in the Web2 space, in my opinion. But also, let's say if it's a B2B product, community wouldn't be that important. But word goes around really fast in Web3, and there's something known as FUD that is real. And when that goes around, we need to really focus on keeping sentiment and keeping community happy. I think community is key. The other thing that differentiates for me on the PR aspect is that everybody wants mainstream media, right? Like, it's great to get out on Cointelegraph, CoinDesk, The Block, Decrypt, but a lot of brands, a lot of projects and companies are coming to us saying, we want to get out on Forbes, Bloomberg, NASDAQ, Entrepreneur. And I get that. It's very important. We want to hit mainstream media. The issue is that Web3 is so new. Sometimes it comes across as technical jargon. And there have been so many scams in the space that journalists are so scared what they are going to cover. Because today, you can have, SBF on the cover of Forbes, and then next thing you know, Forbes is, underwater for doing that, right? So all the media now is so wary about what they are covering, which is why it's more important than ever, going back even to your first question, why you need a PR agency, because you need that credibility, but also it's that relationship with the media that you really need to work on, because the journalists that you're talking to are still very new to the space. They're still trying to understand the space. So that, for me, is a key difference.
Completely true.
I love that answer and fully agree. I want to pick up on a few threads here. But I also want to start with what's not totally not different between Web2 and Web3 marketing. And I think it's a fact that you have to follow those two steps. First of all, as a marketer, you need to really know your product and try to find the product fit. Second step is really knowing your audience. And I think whether you're in Web3 or Web2, you can't get away with omitting any of those steps. And I think that's what a lot of people that I have met with really need to hear. I think it's important to go back to fundamentals of the marketing, and I think that would never change.
Thank you.
I'm glad we agree. But what's really different, and Nikita has been saying this, it's about the community. In Web3, the categories of investors, product, and a consumer collapse into a single category that we like to call a community. And that's a fundamental shift, and that makes you strategize and use different activities when you install that thinking from the very beginning. So as a Web3 marketer, you think about from the outset creating incentives and plugging people into that incentives programs so that they support your brand and your brand grow organically. So that's very unusual when you look at how Web2 operates. Web2 marketing structures are way much more top-down. And in Web3, what we try to do is actually decentralize the marketing department so there is a true ownership of, a true community ownership of a brand that you're building.
That's awesome to say, because I wanted to say it would be interesting to disagree. But yeah, I fully agree. In the Web 2, if we remember social media, communities were created based on your consumption. If you buy something or if you like a brand, then you enter a community and you might become a loyal customer. While in Web 3, I'm seeing something completely, completely different, where you build brands awareness via building a community. And actually, community builds awareness and then builds sales. This is a complete switch, but I'm very strongly convinced that there are the immutable laws of marketing that we need to be following to build brand, to build its adoption, while remembering that, 200 million is still 4 or 5% of the general population. So we're doing, legitimizing our project and selling among ourselves. But I would say that the next step, and it's going to be very soon, is getting on mass media and driving mass adoption while maybe hiding some of the crypto and coin and blockchain and technical elements of our trade.
Like, just to add on that really quick, like exactly what you were saying, like the foundation, the fundamentals of marketing and PR remain the same, but the strategies change and the kind of platforms that you're using, like what I was saying about 4chan and Bitcoin Talk, you wouldn't really use that for the Web space. And then the way we're working with AMAs, call groups, and Twitter Spaces. It's very it's very focused on the Web3 community, but the fundamentals always remain the same. That no matter what, you need to know your audience.
I will also follow up with the Martyna's second topic about like understanding the community itself, because it is really crucial. And I'd like to say that actually without knowing who are your community members, or your contributors, your consumers, you can't actually maintain the long-term sustainability within the community and to like loyalize them, to maintain the retention at the higher stage. And this is actually how I see the big difference between Web 2 and Web 3 world. Because in Web 2, everyone, like every company, is focusing on like user acquisition, customer acquisition. In Web 3, it is like more organic, as you said, but also about like loyalizing those people to increase their retention, and actually to maintaining the people that are already onboarded to your community or your user base, right? Like using your platform, games, and so on, or players, to actually incentive them and to make them stay much longer, and to increase this customer lifetime value, as we call it in Web 2. Maybe it will be called another way soon, but yeah, definitely on the same page here with you all guys.
Okay, that's well understood. Okay, thank you. So next question is referring to the fact that all of the projects out there think they are the best. Everyone thinks they're super unique. They think that CoinDesk should cover them tomorrow on a daily basis. And it's like, in reality, it's not like that. I mean, they have a lot of difficulties penetrating the market. And also there's just tens of thousands of projects out there. And it's super difficult to shine or to get the headlines. So I guess the next question would be referring to what are the obstacles that marketers typically face when trying to introduce a new project into the market and capture the attention of those potential users.
So before we get any company or project that comes our way, there's a couple of things that we look for. Is number one, strong fundamentals, obviously. Number two, strong team. Number three, strong partners or investors that you have the funding to, take you through this PR and marketing journey. I would say those are the three kind of main things. We also look at sometimes, how are you compliant and where you're based, your jurisdiction, and who your competitors are. So these are like a couple of kind of pillars that we assess before we take on any client, and I'm sure like you guys do. Now, the projects that I like to take on personally are simple, straightforward, easy to understand. Because if me as a user, if I use the product, then I know the media will be interested to pick it up. And I keep telling this to all my clients as well. For example, we have a client called Ubit, Apple Pay for crypto. It is as easy as it gets. My mom can understand that sentence, right? And so the media will understand it, and the media will pick it up very easily. So these are the kind of pillars that I always advise my clients to go through. Because the space is so small, I often find companies lacking one or two of these pillars that I just mentioned, which is why eventually at LunaPR we had to open a branding and advisory division. So PR and marketing should commence once you have your foundation laid, because once you go to market, it's hard to kind of change things around. You can't go to market and say, okay, look, I have this incredible product, and your founder profile, you don't even have a LinkedIn, or you have some bad reputation on you, or your website looks like it's made by a, first grader. We need to assess these things. So our branding and advisory departments help us to ensure that any brand is coming through with the right foundation. And that foundation would be to ensure that the branding messaging is strong, your website, your investor deck, even your fundamentals, your tokenomics, your valuation is correct to then help you get that investment. We hold private events to ensure that our clients can get the investors. And then finally, the advisory part is to help them with the right partners, whether it's getting them in touch with the right exchanges or for example, in Dubai, we work with the Ministry of AI, and they love to advise our clients. We have an amazing partnership with them. These are valuable items that our clients can really thrive on. Once they go through that phase, then it's time to start the PR and marketing. So for me, that's very important.
It's problematic. They need to. Okay, awesome. Go ahead.
I would want to go next, just because I think I've got a slightly different story. Also working as a PR advisor. I actually do tend to work with a lot of Web3 infrastructure tooling companies. So I do also work for crypto exchanges and the products that are really easy to explain when you're talking to media and are slightly easier sell. But I do help with brands that have pretty technical proposition and help them simplify it. And I think one of the key things, to answer your question, what are the obstacles, is actually for brands that are coming to us, it's really hard for them to define their unique selling points. So they don't know how to differentiate. And that's really challenging, and that's where we start. Because when you have a product and consumers, your audiences, are hearing about it for the first time, it's very unlikely that they're gonna remember 3 or 4 things that you're really good at. In reality, they're probably gonna remember just one. So it's really important to narrow down and focus and think about how you can differentiate. And if you can't find that thing, perhaps there is a discussion with the product team to adding another feature or changing something so that you can claim that differentiation. Or you're doing something in the same category but in a better way. So there are definitely things that you can strategize about. But I think, finding that what makes you unique is really important, and you need to do it, as Nikita said, before you go to market. So coming to us, asking for publicity, that's entry-level work for PR agencies. We can get you coverage, but would that shift the needle? Would it do anything? That's another question.
That's so interesting you should say that, because when I entered Web3, the first thing that struck me the most was the amount of copycatting and just copying somebody else's business idea. You know, the best example would be the Inu, affix to any NFT collection. But I would say the biggest obstacle is the distance. Because when I went from marketing to Web3, I felt like I had to swim the channel. You know, it's like an island, and there are no bridges. People in Web3 tend to be focused on the financial, technical aspect. We all know it from series and from pop culture. You have an engineer trying to, be a visionary about their product. And they get, dive into the code and tech specs. We don't have. The Web3 doesn't have the ability, ability or an opportunity to focus their messaging and talk in a benefit language. And I don't know if there are any of my colleagues met over 20-some years in this space. I mean, we are in industry conference, and this industry is still an island. And I think bridging is all we're going to be doing over the next couple of years, explaining, getting 2 different worlds to like West and East, to look at each other anew and try to understand each other. Go beyond fear, uncertainty, and like you said, big crypto personalities pictured on the cover of Forbes, and then just to undermine the trust in the whole industry. So,
okay, cool, Filip.
Yeah, I guess the thing that changed a lot across like few years recently is that many projects, Web3 projects, are actually finally targeting masses and not only Web3 space itself. And this is the big difference and challenge as well for like PR agencies and marketing agencies, marketing teams within those projects, because they have to actually provide all those like explanations, all these communications to the like really variety of people globally in different languages, on a different level of understanding the technology. So I would say this is also one of the biggest challenges right now, to focus on like some order and also create this strategy of marketing and go to market of the project with some order, actually starting from the like degens, let's say, and then expanding to the masses of people that are not yet here in Web3.
Okay, that's well understood. So the next question will refer to ROM. You know, many times we promote our clients, and you know, we try to give them good press. And there is maybe a saying, you know, there is no such thing as bad press. But still, you know, we are in this industry where there's a lot of scammers. You also mentioned that everyone is super skeptical. So so sometimes we need to face a situation where a project is on the spot. I'll give an example from our experience. Just now we had a huge client, a big launchpad in the industry that was hacked. And they immediately needed to take a few actions to make the community calm down a little bit, to understand that they're working on it, that they, you know, paused the transactions and all of the on-chains and everything. So maybe you can share some ideas, some examples of such ROM campaigns, and what type of difficulties we can face when we have that type of situation.
So, okay, this is a tricky one, but when it comes to PR, it's hard to kind of understand the monetization, the monetary value, but that's the difference between PR and marketing, right? So. A lot of the times, our clients want to see, in my opinion, how many community members am I getting? How many investors are coming through from these community members? That's not a result of PR. So this is the first thing that I always like to tell my clients. PR will help you build credibility, awareness, or help you kind of adjust your reputation, enhance your reputation. Marketing, I feel, is a little bit more direct. And then you have sales, which is even more direct, right? So sometimes I even tell my clients, we're not a sales agency. But under the marketing is where usually it's easier to track metrics because it's just so obvious. It's just a direct kind of direct result. So, for example, on social media, how many followers you're gaining, on Telegram, kind of, you know, what the conversions are, how many people are communicating about the right aspects. So for me, it's just about telling my clients what the results will be of PR and what the results will be of marketing.
Did you ever have to face crisis?
Crisis, yes,
when
absolutely.
Someone got hacked or anything like that, like FTX, let's say. Imagine the marketing agency of FTX.
Yes, so I apologize. I think I misunderstood your question. But crisis happens all the time. And there's two ways to approach a crisis. The first way is you don't address it, you pretend like it never happened, and you kind of just override it with positive news, positive press, positive announcements, just to get away from that situation and move on. The second step is to address it. And then the way you address it is critical. Like this is, and when you address it, we tell our clients, you have maximum 48 hours to address it, because the last thing you want, again, is your community to spread FUD, right? So recently, for example, Ledger did an excellent job. They went through a bit of a crisis situation with their wallets, and they addressed everything right away. Every influencer that was posting videos, they were responding right away. Their communication was on point. I've seen other clients that will take the latter route where they go through some kind of crisis, and it's better for them just to keep quiet, don't make a big deal out of it, and override it with press. When we have a client that goes through the situation, we can always advise them on the two routes, but ultimately it's up to the client to decide which route they want to go.
Okay.
It's interesting if you apply the 22 immutable laws of marketing. I think number 21 is the law of candor. Exactly the law of saying, yes, the situation is there. We kind of missed something and we are on a mission to fix it. And that effects of being candid, of being honest about where you went wrong, what the mistake was and how you're going to fix it, and putting commitment. And then there's, okay, now the commitment has result 1, 2, 3, and they start to blanket, to cover the bad news. But yeah, just say, I'm personally all for honesty and integrity.
Okay, like in my own opinion, and being completely transparent and honest here, LunaPR went through a crisis a couple of years ago, 2 years ago. Well, first of all, our name is Luna, okay, and we have nothing to do with LunaTerra. So that was one thing, and we just had to kind of address it over and over again on social media and be like, we have nothing to do with LunaTerra. So that was the first thing. The second thing that happened was, we had an influencer database, a list of influencers, and one of our clients went through that database. It was like a middleman. We were working with a broker. The middleman went through the database, upmarked it without our consent, so he could make a commission at the middleman, and then sent it to the client. So when it went to the client, and we're very transparent with our influencers, we take a 20% commission, and that's it. Like the clients can pay the influencers directly. We take a management fee, and we're very upfront with that. This person came in out of nowhere, upmarked it to insane rates, and our influencer database got leaked, and we had about 20, 30 influencers furious. We cannot fight 20 influencers, right? Because they are so massive, they will override anything we say. So we just had to keep quiet, not fight it, and instead speak to them face to face, message every influencer and just be like, we did not leak it. But it definitely burnt a lot of bridges. But in that situation, it was better for us to just keep quiet.
It's interesting for me that you mentioned the ledger. I actually tend to disagree here. I think the whole go-to-market strategy for that feature was really odd. And I think there was some responses that further updated the communities when they were just try to be defensive about the technology without kind of taking a step back and addressing the concerns. But I think they've eventually did a pretty good job. I think the right people stepped in and they tried to really manage the crisis. But what I think when it comes to Ledger, that crisis could have been easily avoided. But that's just my opinion, and I'm not burning my ledger. I think it's going to be okay. But I do agree with you guys when you're saying that you need to be really prepared and proactive about communication when it comes to crisis. There's issues management and there's crisis management. When there is an issue that could potentially have an impact on your brand, there is a different way you can do it without kind of drawing extra attention to it. When you're in a crisis, you have 48 hours, and for this to make it smoother and really respect those 48 hours, you really need to be prepared. So that's where your communications team, your PR agency, your marketing department is really, really helpful. So you sit down with relevant people and you strategize about how you're going to address the issues. But yeah, I want to pass it to someone else because I feel like I'm talking a lot.
No problem, thanks. Yeah, so actually my thoughts on that is that first of all, you have to spot the actual crisis and be aware of that. Jacek also mentioned about that. And this is the thing that is actually really crucial, because if the crisis is already happening and you are not aware of that, this is why those like 48 hours are already happening and you are not aware of that. And this might be also quite of a new problem within your company or project, that you are not tracking the things that you should track, like maybe there is some fad in the Discord group, or people are starting tweeting about something, and maybe it is already affecting your actual business because people are dropping the tokens, and that might be spotted also on the like social insights and also on the on-chain side of the real business. So having like those connecting those old dots and having it like tracking all the time is pretty crucial, and to be always up to date with everything what's going on within your community. And this is actually, I would say, first step to somehow hedge before any crisis might happen within your project. The second thing is also to somehow evaluate the size of the potential impact of this crisis, because there are like smaller ones and bigger ones, obviously. So this is also kind of the things you can actually understand by, again, like understanding your community and what's going on with it.
Okay, we don't have a lot of time. Let's try to find a good question, and then we'll have another one for the final one. So the next one is referring to really the gap between the knowledge of the investors in the community and what the projects that they're investing in actually doing. Because we know that all of the crypto investors, I mean, most of them, they're not data scientists, right? They're not developers. And let's be honest, most of the time they have no idea what the project is actually doing in terms of tech. So still, in order to attract those investors, we need to kind of explain them and reach that audience. So I guess my next question would be, how can blockchain projects effectively communicate their value proposition to a non-technical audience?
Yeah, so I think that kind of, that's a good question, because it really sums up everything we just discussed. I think, as I mentioned earlier, there's a couple of fundamentals that are very important when reaching out to investors. We have a small VC as well, Luna VC, and what we look for is a strong team, strong fundamentals. We look at who the competitors are, and then we look at kind of the branding and messaging and who the founders are as well. So I think when you're trying to communicate to investors, what I mean by fundamentals is, okay, that you have a product that's easy to understand or is needed in the market, but then also the way you're conveying that to the audience. So I always look if there's a few articles or a little bit of background, or you don't even need articles. You can even write some blog posts and just have some kind of presence online that discusses what you're doing, the pitch deck, valuation. I look for valuations that make sense. Usually we invest in tokens, but I think even in the Web3, whether it's token or equity, sometimes the tokenomics can be absolutely ridiculous. 2017 vibes, raising $50 million for some banana coin or something, you know. So these are kind of things that we look for, that they need to be really realistic. The projections need to be there as well on where they're allocating the funds, what the funds would be used for. And I feel like putting all that information clearly on the pitch deck is very important. And also for this question, I'm referring to larger investors that come in, not individuals. I'm referring to VCs and family office and funds that will come in as strategic partners or larger investors.
Yeah, I agree on an audience thing. I think, and again, I think that's where you have to start with. Non-technical audience or a VC, is this a VC, is this person from a traditional VC, maybe a hedge fund or similar in financial services? Is that person someone who is from Web3 native VC, or is this non-technical audience your mom and dad, right? Because that's also non-technical audience. So I think it's really about looking into those audiences and trying to create or build or find relatable example so that you can easily translate what you are doing into the totally new context. So I think that's what really kind of helps, kind of going back to a drawing board and deciding and seeing what you can find about those audiences, what type of words, what type of language you can use, what they care about. That's how you build a message. And I think when people come to us at Serotonin, we always say, you have a different stakeholder groups, and if you say, oh, I'm targeting a non-technical audience, I'm like, that's not specific enough. You have a different stakeholder groups, and you have to have a message for those different stakeholder groups. That's really important. Otherwise, it's a hit or a miss.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, definitely, and also like some of the examples that are coming to my mind from like recent time, like for example Starbucks with the Odyssey program, they didn't even mention about like NFT name anywhere. They were like collectibles or something. The same with like MasterCard and other like Web2 brands that are entering the space. It is all about like naming as well. Because when you are communicating that there is an NFT, nobody knows what the hell the NFT means actually. So
they don't want to know.
Yeah, or maybe they know and there are any, like some negative connotations. So yeah, definitely these examples from like Web2 brands that are entering space are also a good foundation of how we should do that in the future.
A little confession, because as we are a B2B2B company, we have two challenges because we are trying to get investors from both the ad tech industry and the blockchain industry. As a company who has invented a blockchain that can fix many of the digital advertising issues, I would say this is a challenge. To try to get crypto enough, I mean, being non-crypto for the ad tech audience who just wants to fix their problems. We're not even talking about individual consumers, about Solana phones and any consumer-facing products. It's a technology for a company that will use the technology to build new set of services. I would say that's the challenge, to even explain the benefits of the technology to the business audience that you're targeting.
Okay, that's well understood. I'll stick to what Nikita said before to keep it simple. Okay, so last question. We don't have a lot of time to wrap it up. Really, in a sentence, if there could be one good piece of advice you can provide a project team, maybe we have here in the audience some projects that are establishing as we speak, and maybe they need one good advice, what that one good advice would be.
So I would say we're in a very rough market right now, but I really see the best projects and companies emerge during this time. As a PR agency, of course, our client base goes down during a bear market, but I really value the quality projects that come our way, and I know that the projects that we have today will be the next unicorns of the Web3 space. So my advice to you guys is to keep going, even though markets are tough. You guys are here if you have projects. You're in the process of making something incredible, and this market is proving that for you right now.
I would say simply, blow your bubble, study history, because there are things that tend not to change, and if you approach building your project according to some of the ancient knowledge, I think you're more likely to succeed.
Word.
I would say PR can get tough, but it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So build the good foundation, build relationships that will pay dividends further down the line, and engage with media, but don't treat it as transactions, but as relationships.
I can add that you need to understand your user base and community to measure that. And then to take advantage of this awareness and understandings to actually maintain its sustainability in the really long-term way, not on the short-term periods of time. So this is advice from me.
So basically, everyone says that it's for the long run. I tend to agree. People need to understand that when they're establishing a project, it's really for the long run. Okay, guys, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time.
Likewise, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Great moderation.
And thank you very much. Yes, excellent moderation. PR seen as the long run, ladies and gentlemen. However, when it comes to a potential downfall of a brand, it's definitely a sprint, not a long run. We all know that.